Now, this is a story all about how my season got turned upside down. And I'd like to take a minute, just go sit in the tree. I'll tell you how we're 5-5 and control our destiny. Welcome back, guys. We are back here again. Thank you, everyone, for all the well wishes on the last video where some crazy stuff may or may not have been happening. And it turns out it actually did not happen. And that means we're going to be able to finish out the season with normal videos. So that's going to be pretty great. Probably not playoffs if we make them, but, you know, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. Speaking of burning things, we are going up against the San Francisco GiEnteis again this week. As I outlined in last week's video, we are effectively in playoff mode right now. We pretty much need to win out. There might be some, like, depending on the score of this game, that we might be able to lose one, definitely not both, but one or the other of these games. But to me, this is going to be super important. As you can see, Geo had one of the most unfortunate losing skids that has ever been. But if you look at the differential, you can see that so 4-6 versus 5-5, and at that rate, that means that if Geo loses this game, he hits 7 losses, and we thereby can't hit 7 losses. And so, given that it is extremely likely that the gold division will take both wildcard spots, that pretty much, to me, will likely eliminate Geo from competition this week if he were to lose. Will not clinch a spot for us. It just makes us versus Top. Well, it depends on the outcome of Top versus Battler X, which you might have already seen. If you didn't, stick around for the end of the video. We'll spoil it for you and talk about the playoff picture, and if, you know, assuming we actually win. If we don't, then we're, well, you know, it's kind of a wash anyway. So yeah, here's Geo. Now, fun fact, you see Geo's icon there's a Ninja Boy. Went to Steam Siege pre-release prior to playing and pulled a Ninja Boy, so that was pretty good. It's the best card in the set. We got Geo's team here. We have a Zapdos, Cresselia, a Ditto, which I was not totally expecting to see, Entei, Nidoking, and Metagross. I think the only thing, yeah, I was thinking maybe Granbull for Mega Glade over Ditto, but the rest of the team, I was like, yeah, those are probably really good. Mega Absol, he didn't bring last time, so I was thinking he might not bring it again. Latias, which he traded for Manaphy, you know, not a horrible trade, but not anywhere near as good against my team as Manaphy was, and definitely solidified one of my other choices. Mismagius is only Ghost type. I don't think has been brought to a single game. It's not bad, just the rest of his team is really good. Regirock is the other guy that I don't think I mentioned yet, so, and he's not here either, because Metagross with Stab, EQ, and Ice Punch actually eviscerates my team, particularly like with a Shuka Berry, so it can take Earthquakes from Gliscor. That's kind of going to be horrifying, so we'll have to see what we can do about it. And the team that we have going on here is going to lead off with actually the first 3 picks from our draft are all getting brought this week. I think that may or may not be the first time that's happened. We do have Sableye. Now, he has a Mega Absol, which means it's going to be kind of dubious to throw around Will-O-Wisps, and Entei can't get Wisps anyway. But we got another Prankster Stopgap that is not affected by, well, it's affected by Magic Bounce, but it's that wouldn't actually matter anyway for what it is. Might be able to pick up on what it is. It would help us to possibly live Entei. The other thing is definitely fearing a Choice Scarf Zapdos this week. That's what he brought last time we played. So given how much Greninja, especially now that he doesn't have Manaphy, totally threatens his team, I feel like he's going to have at least one check to it, which will either be a Scarf Zapdos or potentially a Scarf Nidoking, both without speed, and have super effective T-Bolts. So that's pretty much Sableye. We got, you know, Will-O-Wisp, Recovery, Foul Play, because it actually, like, 2-shots Mega Absol despite resistance, so that's pretty cool. Greninja, all it really needs is Stab and Ice Beam. I believe Stab is actually, just Greninja Stab is super effective, not unresisted, super effective to 7 of his pokes, that being Latias, Mismagius, Entei, Nidoking, Cress, Metagross, Regirock. That's all 7. He has to bring at least 2 things, I think, that are weak to Ninja Stab. And then we got Ice Beam there, mostly just for Zapdos. So the 4th move could have been any number of things. Water Shuriken maybe for, you know, picking off an injured Scarf Dose, or, you know, some other stuff. Maybe try to set up some hazards. In the end, though, I decided the best thing that's going to be here is for, you know, I know that Scarf Dose is going to be the check to this thing, so or potentially Nidoking. So let me run Protect on there so I can see what they lock themselves into, because we see we got Gliscor down there. I can certainly switch that into a T-Bolt, a choice T-Bolt, but if he gets high technical and predicts that in HP Ices, then I lose Gliscor. And, if he does click HP Ice, I'd probably just stay in with Ninja. Same goes for Heat Wave, honestly. As he resists both of them. So Protect, I felt, was too valuable utility for Scarfdos to just kind of shut it down and really, not shut it down, but mitigate it, its ability to come in and check when I can, scout what it's going to do and then act accordingly. Clefable is Magic Guard again, but there's no Tail Glow guy this week, so that's good. We might actually be able to pull that off. Clefable's main goal is to deal with those top two guys right there, the main special attackers on the team. It's actually bold, but it's mostly specially defensive. It is bold because of not hacking reasons, shall we say. But we got Reflect. Reflect, it was a suggestion from our good Diamond brother, Makar, and I kind of liked it because it's probably going to draw in Metagross, Entei, and if we can set up Reflect on those switch-ins, which are going to resist the Fairy Stab that we had, Moonblast, and Metagross wouldn't care about Toxic either, then, we can at least get a screen up, and that'll be good to go. Hopefully Metagross won't pack Brick Break. Nidoking probably won't care, but we'll have to figure out what to do about Nidoking. Nidoking, I have no switch-ins for. Greninja, he doesn't have the best switch-ins for. Like Ditto, I think, is actually his best switch-in to Greninja on this team, so which is kind of funny. Just because it resists all the moves. So that's Fable for you. Now Raptor this week, we have Staraptor. He has a Regirock that tends to stop Staraptor despite close combat because of big, physical defense, and kind of Metagross stops it a little bit too because close combat's not super effective with the Psychic typing. So what do we do instead? Well, we bring Toxic because toxicking things that are too fat for Raptor to kill is a good way to get him dead. And this Raptor can, depending on the crest set, of course, can actually kind of beat Cresselia one-on-one, depending on what it is. Most variants of Cresselia it can't, but, we got Toxic and Roost. And you probably have not seen Toxic and Roost on the Staraptor in a while. You might have. I feel like it's not that uncommon. U-turn ended up being the fourth move, which I don't expect to click very often, but, it's something that gives me initiative into Greninja, so that's going to be good. Double Edge is the only big, reckless boosted attack this week, because, again, this mage just had 0 games played, so I felt pretty confident just bringing that. And we're jolly because Entei is almost always adamant. It doesn't have to be adamant it does for Flare Blitz, for Sacred Fire, but it does for E-Speed, and generally there's, as we've seen, there's no reason not to bring, choice powerful fire types against my team. So that's, we're gonna have to, that's why we're jolly 1 over a 100, and I think about 100 HP EVs, just to absorb some recoil and, have more HP, because we have Roost on our Staraptor. And I debated for a long time before the match started between Silk Scarf, Wackenberry, and Yachiberry, and each had their pros and cons. In the end, I was like, well, I might have a scenario where I can stare down Zapdos and still do a chuffing Carp Ton to it if it's not very defensive in its Scarf. So in the end, I decided to go with Wackenberry. It was one of the first things I thought of, and we just decided to go with it. Gliscor is pretty standard. Just, EQ Toxic, Roost Protect, mostly Impish with 204 defense. Not much to say. It's good. So, it's going to be here to Toxic things. We have, I believe, 3 things on the team with Toxic. So that might tell you kind of how the game plan might end up to go out. Although we get a lot of heavy hitting too with Nidoking and Greninja that don't have great switch-ins. So there's that. One of the more interesting sets this week is a Choice Scarf Empoleon, which will outspeed his entire team unboosted. It will be 1 over Mega Absol. We're Tim and Max. And I was like, he has 1 water resist, which is Latias, which I don't really think he'll bring because of Clefable, because of Greninja. So, yeah, he probably won't have a water resist, and I can probably just go in there and spam Scald. And the main goal is to get a sneak KO on Entei or Nidoking. If I can keep that I'm Scarfed secret, I'm hoping to just get a one-shot on those guys because we're max special attack. I do have Hydro Pump as well if need be, but I think Scald will probably suffice the majority of the time. Other 2 moves were semi-throwaway. I've got Stealth Rock on him. I'm actually planning to lead with it. because, you know, it's the thing I'm most fearing is a Nidoking lead because I have no switch-ins for it. So, you know, if we can actually do that and then kill Nidoking right off the hop, that'd be great. And then the other move is Ice Beam, which was just in case Latias came. It was honestly a throwaway move that I likely would never have clicked. I was thinking knockoff for no apparent reason, but Ice Beam means I don't have to run a split nature, so cool. That's just a max attack speed, so that is the team this week. There were a couple of guys I wanted to bring this week. One of you, I forget your name because I can't pronounce it, but you have a Dusknoir picture. You sent me some sets. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make them happen this week, so but they were definitely brought into consideration. I believe we used one of them in the past couple of weeks, but Metagross kind of said no to one of them, and the other one was on the team, and then it kind of fiddled out when I decided to put Sableye on there for his purpose on the team. So that is that. I think we've got a decent number of answers. Oh yeah, I kind of glossed over that Gliscor can totally 1v1 CB Entei, assuming it doesn't get bludgeoned too much on the way in. Takes roundabout half, little less from a CB Flare Blitz without HP investment. Can't get burned because, you know, Poison Heal and EQ and Roost and Protect and good stuff. So that is that, and yeah, it's gonna be a difficult one because this team is really freaking good, and yes, it's Zapdos that I want, but I can't have it, and I'm drafting it season 1, or round 1 rather, next season most likely. We'll see. But yeah, with that, we will get into the game and see how we fare as playoffs are on the line. So yeah, it will be an Empoleon lead because I cannot afford a Nidoking lead, and that just is going to be bad. It's going to be a Zapdos lead instead, though. So we have prepped for Scarfdos, and I am going to continue to assume it is Scarfdos. Question is, what do we want to do? Well, I could, if it's not Scarfed, stay in here with a Scarfed Ice Beam of my own, and that would pretty much confirm it's Scarfed. However, this variant of Empoleon being not defensive at all will get one-shotted by even like an uninvested T-Bolt, and Volt Switch is decently likely. I don't want to protect on this guy to scout, so we're just going to go into the Gliscor and hope he doesn't get high technical with HP Ice too early. Literally on the first turn of the game, he does not, so here I intend to protect and just see if he switches to HP Ice. If he switches over to HP Ice, then obviously he's not Scarfed. If he just upright leaves, then, you know, if he certainly has HP Ice, but if he upright leaves, which he does, that's going to be about 80% me convinced that he is indeed a Scarf Zapdos. So that's cool because we have a lot of stuff on the team that is prepared to deal with it. So we're making notes on Notepad of what sets Ditto has scouted for him, and now he has scouted that Gliscor can't touch Gliscor. So what move am I going to click? I'm going to click Earthquake. Reason being that I don't want to give him Poison Heal. If it's Crest that comes in, then I can just Toxic that, you know, immediately. If it's Zapdos that comes back in, I can Protect, see what it locks itself into, go from there. And anything else that comes in, I might have to switch out from, and I would rather Earthquake. So yeah, that's the logic. I'm just going to stay in here at Earthquake because this will never end until he decides to switch out. I'm going to be sticking to my guns and just staying in here until he does. So he goes ahead and jets out of here into Metagross, which is going to take an Earthquake and take it reasonably well. I think like a fully offensive Metagross takes a little over half, and that was a little under half. So the good thing about that is it probably means he can't do... Well, he can't do 182 points with Ice Punch, and that's all that really matters to me. Unless he's like CB and like, yeah, I think he would have to be Choice Banded in order to knock out with Ice Punch. So I think I take a long time on this turn. I believe it actually goes down to 0. I click it at the last second, and like the button like it recessed into the graphic as if I clicked it, but I don't know if it did or not because Earthquake was in the top. It was in the top left slot. But that is what I wanted to go for, and that is what we went for. So we take obviously a lot from Ice Punch, but not too much. You know, we get back to about half after leftovers, or after, you know, super leftovers. And here we got a decision to make. I can either go ahead and take the kill, and Gliscor will be a little bit over half. But if it's a little bit over half, it can't switch into Entei, and that's not where I want Gliscor to be. He could predict me to Roost. He obviously knows I have Roost. And, you know, go to somebody else on that and get some tempo that way. Regardless, this thing is now crippled from to the point it's not going to be able to check or come in on Staraptor. So that's great. And I do Roost, and he does Ice Punch, and that does exactly what I was hoping it would do. It does half damage, of course, while we're roosting, and we'll be able to Earthquake it this turn, and kind of the same logic as before. If Crest comes in, I can Toxic it. If Ditto comes in, that's a stalemate. If Zapdos comes in, I'll Protect, Scout, and go from there. Anything else, I would rather hit with Earthquake, so we're just going to do that and see where we can go from there. If he just leaves it in for Death Fodder, cool. That's what could have been a massive threat that Gliscor was able to handle. So it is indeed Zapdos that comes in. So we already have our play pre-programmed, which is going to be Protect, see what he locks himself into, and we'll adjust accordingly. And he's going to lock himself into U-turn, so it's certainly a smart bring to just get initiative without worrying about damage from Volt Switch and getting blocked. So he's U-turning here. I could certainly leave Gliscor in on this and just fire off pretty much anything, but I'm gonna be slightly aggressive here. I want to go into Empoleon, actually, who will take U-turn just fine, and I'm hoping that will bait him into U-turn. He won't U-turn into Entei, but I'm hoping it will draw in the Nidoking, and I don't know that he would stay in, but he might. So he's going to U-turn, and I believe he thinks about this one for a long time. I think on his side he was considering Nidoking to be dropped in here. And if that's going to be the case, I will gladly just quick Water Stab and take the KO. So, unless he's Focus Sashed, for example. But yeah, what will he end up going to do here? Well, Metagross can't really do much. I guess Ditto could do something. In that case, I think we would probably trade Stealth Rock, as I'm going to kind of presume for the moment that he's going to be a Scarf Ditto. I don't think we saw Leftovers, so Scarf and Leftovers usually is what Ditto runs one or the other. Going to presume Scarf for right now, which is another reason, by the way, that we didn't end up to bring Aggron, because I didn't want him copying Aggron, and then, yeah, that could have been bad. But instead, Crest comes in, and I could set up a quick Stealth Rock, but I don't really want to, because Crest could pack T-Wave, and I don't want my Scarf and Empoleon getting T-Waved. Not that T-Wave is, normally oh man, that Empoleon, I sure need to T-Wave that. But this particular Empoleon, being Max Speed Timid Scarf, definitely does not want to get T-Waved. It's not like you can Toxic Empoleon anyway. So, we're going to get out of here into Fable, which is our designated, Crest Killer, except when it has Sub. So if it has Sub, that probably means it has Calm Mind, and pretty much everything we brought is a special attacker, except for technically Sableye, who's not going to be able to do anything. Foul Play is going to do laughable damage. I'm sure he has 0 attack IVs, and that means that our only hope to not get swept by a Calm Mind Crest is probably going to be Staraptor, so that's who we're going into here, as he does indeed Calm Mind, as I was fearing. And here, the plan is break the sub. I know that, Raptor can live a +1. +1 Psychic would be, might not be able to live that, but depending on his attack investment, etc. But if he's going to be fully defensive and just, use Calm Mind to get the offenses up, I think Raptor will be alright to live a hit. So we're just going to double edge and see what he does. We get a useless crit, but remember that for later. He puts in another sub, but sub damage is going to be more than recoil damage is going to be doing to me, and at some point we do have a Roost to be going on, but what I need to happen here is to get him not behind a sub, maybe thinking I'm banded, maybe thinking I'm scarfed, and I'm just going to continue to go for double edge. That's kind of what I'm hoping we're able to telegraph here. I don't know how, it's certainly a possibility. There's nothing that's because of the just killing the, so any variant of Staraptor is going to destroy a sub. I would hope, except, pretty much any variant of Staraptor is going to destroy a sub. We did, I believe, however, show no Intimidate. I believe it still fires, even if they have a sub up. So he Moonblasts here and does some damage, but that kind of shows me he doesn't look like he's got much, if any, special attack investment, I think. So all I really care about is that Raptor lived it. Awesome. And here, I click Toxic, and I'm just like, please just stay in, and please Toxic don't miss, please. I mean, I'd like to get Toxic on almost anything. He wouldn't switch in Nidoking on this, obviously. And Metagross is almost dead. I can kill it off with a double edge. So I guess really, except for maybe Ditto, which would be too dangerous to switch into a double edge as well. You know, I think Toxic's gonna be great here, and we land it. And Raptor has successfully done a thing that I really needed it to do, which is get Crest Toxic. As soon as I saw Granbull was not on this team, I was pretty okay with just, you know, sacrifice whatever to get Crest Toxic, and I'm gonna be okay with that. Even if he had Moonblasted there, I was okay making that trade to get a Toxic on that Calm Mind Crest that was gonna beat me otherwise. And now it's not gonna be able to beat me because I believe even a +6 Moonblast, like, as long as I've got soft boils to go through, is not gonna be able to do that. And of course with Toxic, he's probably not gonna be able to get to +6 anyway. So here I believe we're just gonna Roost. I believe at this point we have seen the full moveset, but remember that for later. So we're gonna Roost back up, and I do have the Walking Berry, and when I got hit by Moonblast, I was like, man, I guess the Walking Berry doesn't matter now, but after that Roost, that actually gets me back up close to full, so running a quick calc, and with 158 life, even a modest max special attack Thunderbolt does not have a chance to kill with the Walking Berry intact, so I'm just gonna make a semi-ballsy play here. The Walking Berry makes it, you know, certainly safe. But I'm just going to click Double Edge, and if he wants to stay in, he's going to lose a good chunk of life on Zapdos that he probably can't get back, because he probably doesn't have Roost. We still have Empoleon hanging around to maybe get a Stealth Rock up at some point, and he does indeed just U-turn. I thought he might do that as well, which Raptor will be able to resist, and now somebody's going to take a Double Edge. Probably doesn't want to go into Cress, because it's Toxic and I'll just Roost on it, so this is actually sort of, kind of, a variant of Crest that this Raptor can actually 1v1, which I find rather hilarious. He could sack off the Metagross, or he could let someone else take a big hit. I don't think Ditto would be a wise idea here either, is it? Might die. Maybe. I have 100 HP EVs. Ditto, of course, has max HP EVs, because that's all you ever EV, and ends up to just sack off the Metagross, so that's kind of good because we don't take too much recoil damage, and we actually draw First Blood, so we're not going to get 6-0'd again, boys, so get hyped for that. That's going to be pretty great. We are now at 134 HP as we wait to see what he brings in, as we're already approaching, getting close to the halfway point, and 1 KO has been taken. So what's it going to be? Scarf Dose could certainly come right back in, and indeed it does. And this is a weird play because usually, like, after, you got predicted or, something like that, usually then people will go back to the safe play. So that might happen here, but this is also the GBA where, it's like, he's going to expect me to make the safe play, so I'm just going to stick to my guns and U-turn again. It's a little bit different this time, though. If he's modest, he has a above 50% chance to KO from 134. If he's timid, which I don't know why he would be, the max damage is 133 after Walking Berry. So I'm just going to stay in and balls it, because I don't really want to switch anything else into this. I can't protect and scout. And Thunderbolt comes, Walking comes, and Raptor lives on 1, and double edges. And remember that crit that was useless earlier? Well, that crit mattered big time. So 1 HP live and the crit on the same turn, and that is pretty huge. So both of our birds go down on a double down, and Raptor, holy carp, you were a beast this match. You one-hit KO to Zapdos, granted with a crit, which I guess that means CB Raptor would have done the same. And you also made it so that Cress is not going to beat me. You didn't kill Cress, but you made it so that Cress is not, going to be able to beat me. So double down means I'm just going to go right back into my lead, and that's going to be Empoleon, because again, I cannot afford Nidoking drop-ins for free. That's just something I can't afford. I guess Greninja would have been an okay neutral drop-in as well, but if it was Cress, I don't know, maybe actually Ninja would have been, well, the idea was that if it was Ninja, then Nidoking would definitely switch out here. But here I've got the scenario that I wanted. Nidoking has kind of been baited in, and here's where my calc goes a little bit awry, and I'll explain that over the course of the game. I'm going to click Scald here, and I believe it to be a 100% KO, because I'm max special attack timid, and I think the calc was like minimum was like 105 or so, maybe 111, and he doesn't die, and kills me with Earth Power, which I was pretty sure he would. And so, yeah, the flaw in my calc was, I didn't calc HP EVs too much, although I think the min was like 111 or something. without HP EVs. So I was like, well, even with some HP EVs, he shouldn't be able to survive. The flaw was that the first set that I was calculating against was naive, which makes it do more damage. So what that enters into my mind at this point was that I feel like there's no way he could one-shot me and be that unless he was like max special attack assault vest. So that was completely flawed. He is in fact life orb and just not naive. So, but keep that in mind, that I am thinking in-game at this point that he is Assault Vest Nidoking, which is a really cool set, and it's probably another reason I was, like, stuck on it, because, like, man, that's really cool. Or did I say Entei? I meant Nidoking. Assault Vest Nidoking, that's really cool. But anyway, we can threaten him out here, and I'm just going to Dark Pulse just in case it's going to be Cress, and it's going to be Ditto, which was indeed his designated Greninja switch-in. Didn't pack U-turn as he now sees my full set. We have Protect instead, which... Scarfdos is now gone, but I don't regret bringing Protect because, Scarfdos did get brought. So I'm just going to Protect because I believe him to be choice. So he's just going to lock himself into Skull, which is... There was no reason, to expect otherwise, but I guess I just wanted to make absolutely sure. So that's going to mean we're going to go into Clefable. And I did think about going Scald on the previous turn just to maybe try to fish for the burn on Ditto, which would have been nice, with not being able to take a Toxic and, Gliscor and heal up and whatnot. But anyway, especially defensive Magikarp Clefable is going to not care too much about a Scald. And we had a couple of options here. I can Moonblast, which would currently be super effective. And Nidoking is sitting there at like 4% life, so Moonblast should be able to take it out. So I definitely don't want that to get in for free, but I also don't really want Entei to get in kind of for free. I do have a better switch to Entei in the form of Gliscor, but we're going to drop the Protect, the Reflect, and that's going to allow us to... Well, not do a whole heck of a lot to Entei, to be honest. But we can Toxic it, which is a bit dubious because Cress is already Toxic. Ditto wants to get Toxic, and Nidoking is immune to Toxic and would then cause some havoc. So I should probably either A, switch to Gliscor and handle this thing, or B, just fire off a Moonblast and hope that he leaves. But in case he is to stay in, Toxic would be the play I would want to make, so that is the button I click. And we'll see what he wants to do about it in response. I'm just going to continue to assume he's adamant Entei, by the way. So he's just going to Imposter into Clefable of his own, so it's now Toxic, and this will allow him to confirm A, Clefable set, and B, that I am indeed Magic Guard. So this also means if he's able to get in on Gliscor later, he'll have Toxic heal, or Poison heal going on, so... Not the best, but again, Gliscor versus Gliscor is a complete stalemate. And as we see the timer tick under 20 minutes, right now a complete stalemate is in my favor because of that. Because of the Nidoking being at such low HP, most of my guys are close to full. So, I'd like to be able to ideally get Greninja in because Greninja can, if we can weaken this Ditto, and not get, in range for a CBE speed, which we'll have to finagle around. Like Ninja can mop up most of the rest of the things that are left, given the chance. So he's switching to Gliscor here, just because I would sort of rather have it out. Just because I don't really have a great logic for that, but I guess I just wanted the Earthquake in case. I don't know. In case maybe Entei double back. I don't know. I will admit that that is a play I don't quite recall what was going through my mind, but I felt like it was pretty okay that I wasn't going to get hurt too bad by the Moonblast, and Ditto wouldn't have as much HP as Clefable as my Clefable would, so I think I'd probably win that 1v1, and plus he's a Scarf Clefable anyway, whereas I have leftovers. Anyway, so Cress is in here, and I don't want to... I know it's full set, but I also can't touch it, so I don't really want it setting up Calm Minds, and... Fable, again, I think I may have mentioned earlier, even a +6 Moonblast, which we've seen now is his only attacking move, bear that in mind. I believe still can't 2-hit KO Clefable through Soft World going on, and Toxic, again, whatever. Basically, this Cress is not going to be able to beat me, as long as Clefable is in decent range of HP. So, important things to keep in mind here. Gliscor is at full enough HP that Entei, I can switch it in. It'll take half-ish. I can Protect for more Toxic heal gain, and then Roost and just stall it out. So we can do that. Moonblast needs to be clicked as often as possible to deter Nidoking switch-ins. And here's where I'm going to go ahead and explain why thinking it was Assault Vest was actually a horrible, horrible mindset to be in. Because of thinking it was Assault Vest, I was like, alright, cool. Assault Vest to this Clefable, Sludge Wave does like 90, low 90s% max, so as long as I'm like close to full HP, should be able to, avoid getting KO'd by that and KO'ing back. Now, there was a Toxic there, and the actual reason for that is also a dum-dum that I made. Somehow, despite seeing Sub, Calm Mind, Moonblast, and Moonlight, I somehow still thought he had a 5th move. Probably because he brought Psycho Shift last time, and on that specific turn, Fable would have been a valid Psycho Shift target. So, for some whatever reason, maybe because I really like Psycho Shift Cress because of Xerxes, I was like, well, if he shifts the Toxic over, and then I do something else, he can sub. I can't retoxic him, and then Cress just wins. So that's why I clicked Toxic there. I think he ended up to dodge it anyway. So that was the horrible, flawed thought process that went on right there. But at the same time, I felt like it was pretty safe because damage is whatever. Because again, mindset is as long as I'm at full HP, Nidoking can't 1-hit KO me. Turns out it actually has a Life Orb, so that means it can. And I don't know that in game at the time. And Soft Boil up right there, so that's why I'm okay going for Soft Boils and getting back to full HP because of that horrible mindset that I'm in right now. Although, if I wasn't in that mindset, it probably would have changed a couple of plays and might have resulted in Fable getting worn down more than it needed to. So I don't know. We'll see how we go from here. But we are dwindling down to the single-digit minutes left, and I have clicked my move. So I'm not intentionally timer stalling. I'm certainly still going to take my 10 to 25-ish seconds that just to make sure we're not making a bad play. Get a drink of water and think it over for a moment, etc. Special attack drops, by the way, might start mattering because of it, especially since in my mind again it's Assault Vest. So in game that is. So at some point, wow, this might actually deal less than the 7 points he has. So a pretty quick turn there. As again, I'm content to boil back up to full because of that flawed thought process. And yeah, at this point, as long as we can keep Fable healthy, I think we'll be all right. It looks like for all the world at this point that a timeout situation will almost certainly occur. So it's going to be jockeying for position as far as that goes, and just kind of having to accept that I don't think we're going to be able to knock out everything left on either side. I don't think he has anything that can really sweep me. So it befuddles me in game why he's just going between Cress and Ditto and Cress and Ditto, resetting the Toxic on Cress, of course. But I feel like to me in game, I feel like he's just wasting time. Now, wasting time to pick the right time to try to get Nidoking in and steal that KO, because if he switches it in on a Moonblast, then it's 3-4 and he loses his best way to get a kill, so that's going to be tremendous. He's going to boil back up here with Choice Scarf Soft Boiled, so I'm going to set up Reflect because again I don't want I think I had some extremely bad logic with this Reflect. The logic was, or maybe Gliscor's not quite at full HP, but the logic was that I didn't want him to get a crit and do more to Gliscor, but a Reflect wouldn't matter. So there was all sorts of horrible logic. We played this at midnight, and he'd been up for 36 hours or something ridiculous like that. I'd been up quite a while myself, but nowhere near that long. So definitely late night game. So some dumb plays made by both sides that maybe wouldn't have shown if I had shut my mouth about them, but it did. So. We chose to be upfront about the horrible plays that we made during this game that so far seem to be working out. So as long as I'm at full HP, I am keen to Moonblast and make sure that Nidoking does not get in for free. That's now at least 2 special attack drops, as we get one on him as well. So we're close enough to full HP. Reflect wears, and we're dwindling down. And do I want to set up Reflect in case of Entei? Do I want to set up Moonblast in case of Nidoking, or use Moonblast to kill Nidoking if it comes in? So this is one of those where I have to think about it for a little while because we're definitely getting down there. And what does he go into? He does go into Entei, and I click Reflect. So awesome. That means that I can probably stay in here, and I probably shouldn't click Toxic and give Nidoking a free drop-in, but I do. So, because I still want some chip damage on this guy. The Greninja, unlike the Empoleon, has an Expert Belt, so he does have that little bit of extra oomph that I think Scald could KO. I might need some chip damage, but he Iron Heads and gets the flinch, and here I take a bit of time to calc and ensure. This is the first hit Entei's actually gotten off, to calc and ensure that it is a Adamant CB Entei, and in fact, you can see there's kind of in the middle of the screen, there's the light on in my room, in the bottom center. It's gone now. That was me turning the lamp onto my room to do a quick calc on my calculator and confirm that he is Adamant CB, and that was a near max roll there. So confirming that, I was pretty sure it was, but whatever. So we're going to go into our Entei switch-in, which is Shade Man, and now the timer is officially down, and I can protect here, and that will officially cap the game. Take a moment to figure out, yeah, that is what's going to end up happening. We protect on the Ice Beam, and I believe I actually just go into... I believe I click to go into Shadow Man. It doesn't matter because the battle time is 0. But yeah, we go into Shadow Man, I think, because he wouldn't get one KO'd by any one move, and he wouldn't get down lower than Prince is right now. So with that, we are still undefeated in timeout situations, and we're going to take this one 4-4 timeout, another no differential timeout, and that is going to propel us to a 6-5 record. Exhale, guys. Exhale. Exhale. So, I would be lying if I said this wasn't a way I like to win. I love timeouts. It means that you went you played the game as long as the game would possibly allow you to play. I wish that they weren't a thing, because, 4th Gen didn't have timeouts, but they are, so I've had to come to embrace them. And they've embraced me, because I believe this moves are all this season. We now have 2 timeout victories with no differential exchanged, and I believe we are actually undefeated in timeouts in the GBA on the field. Anyway, and I believe actually all of those were no differential exchange games. We had a pair of 6-6s, now at 4-4. We had a 2-2 earlier this season against Fizz. There might be one more that I'm forgetting, but. So yeah, you see, if you guys don't know, the remaining HP percentage, if it's tied in score, is what the game goes to. So it's percentage first, and then raw HP, which I believe Geo has actually won a timeout. I think it was last season against Molvone, because of like everything had full health and Geo had a Blissey. So he actually did win it off raw HP, and he knew the rules, and apparently other people did not. So. That is how it goes, but anyways, you can see that we had a commanding lead on HP, mostly because of Empoleon's big hit on that Nidoking to bring it down to 4%, and then just trying to jockey for position to get Nido in and get a kill. That was definitely his win con, and I think he needed it to kind of get a kill and then be able to jet out from there, because at that point. Well, that specific point, that late in the game, Ditto would have been at 40%. I guess could have, like, Ninja was still like a massive threat to kill stuff, so there was that, but he had to stay above like 80% or so to be safe from a CBE speed. We did have some potential stuff to do with Sableye, which, fun fact, I brought almost the same set that I did against Lars, and once again, we had 4 Pokemon left at the end of the game, and Sableye never hit the field, so maybe this is just like a good luck Sableye set that I should just keep running. We'll have to see. It might actually be decent next week, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So yeah, this will unfortunately end the playoff hopes for the GiEnteis, as this now moves us to 6 wins and 5 losses, and it will move Geo to 7 losses with only 1 game left to play. So he can't possibly reach the top of the division, even though his differential is, I believe, still the highest in the division, as it didn't suffer any from this game, of course. But yeah, we kind of got the drop on him with some of the early game plays, and then just didn't work out in the late game. But fantastic team he drafted. Some stuff that I would have liked to have had, but it's all right too. So make sure to go and show him a lot of love, because it has been a rough second half of the season after one of the best starts that has ever happened to the GBA. He was like, what, plus 15 after the first 3 weeks? Ridiculous. Anyway, so make sure to go and show Geo some love. We'll move on to Pokemon of the game now. And who else could it be but Staraptor? Oh my word. Oh, the Toxicum Crest was ginormous. I felt like it was... I don't really feel like it was a bad play to leave Crest in, because, you know, switching stuff into a CB Double Edge is, you know, a dubious prospect, and that certainly, you know, could have been a set I ran. I had no intention to, but it could have been a set I ran, because Mismagius was not something I was remotely concerned about for whatever reason. But yeah, we actually built a Raptor that could kind of 1v1 a Crest, and it turned out that it possibly could have, so that was ginormous. That turned Crest from this is going to beat me to this is not going to beat me in one move, so awesome. And then the adrenaline rush that really shifted the momentum in our favor. You know, Toxicon Crest, but then some of the... I guess it was kind of a ballsy play. At least the first time it was kind of a ballsy play, as I knew I would live. I wouldn't enjoy it, but you know, able to convert a KO on the Metagross that probably we could have picked off later at some point anyway, but hey, it was Death Fodder that he had to use, and you know, potentially could have came in on stuff like the Fable, etc. as well. But then the 1 HP live, I think it was, we did the calcs, it was there's what, 8 total? Well, there's 16 total rolls. I think it was like a, it wasn't an 8 and 8, it was like a 6 and 9, I think. I think he got one of the lower 6 rolls on the Thunderbolt there to leave me at 1 HP. And then, of course, the double-edged crit, which I got a crit on a sub earlier, as I pointed out, so we actually got a useful crit, too. So, Raptor for you. I believe we also, the Nidoking KO with Scald, or rather not KO, I think was also a roll, and I also got one of the lower rolls there, but I will definitely trade him getting the low roll on T-Bolt for me getting the low roll on Scald, because otherwise one would not have occurred without the other, so... that is that. Raptor did freaking amazing. Did exactly what I needed it to do, and effectively took out 2 pokes, even though it didn't actually kill Crest. So, but yeah, we also made a ton of mistakes this game, none of which ended up to come back and bite us, because it was a little bit more slow-paced. At least by the time I started making like bad mental mistakes and mental assumptions, it was sort of the point where, you know, we were kind of like, it was like a knife fight, you know, you're just kind of like circling each other, and you know, someone's got to go for the jugular, but if you go for the jugular at the wrong time, then other guy can like grab your hand, and then he's still got his knife hand to stab you with. So that was kind of pretty much what happened. Is at some point when you know, in the last 2 minutes he had to go for the jugular, but I was able to Shira Hadori the blow and blade grasp the blow, and able to, yeah, stall it out. Speaking of Blade Grasp, we had Final Fantasy Tactics music this game, which was because that was actually the music I listened to while I was playing the game. So there you go, fun fact for you guys. So that'll bring us into next week, and what is this setup? Well, massive spoilers for if you have this video is going up Monday, because I had Pokemon TCG event thing that I went to at a place that was having a Pokemon Go special extravaganza, and we taught kids how to play TCG, and it was all well and fun and good. But anyway, that happened, and that's why this video is coming up Monday night. And yeah, so you probably have seen most of the matches by now, at least all the matches in the Johto conference. If you have not, click away, and I'll see you back next week versus Top. But if you have, or you don't care, then continue to watch here. And so Top actually lost to Battler X 3-0 because of Trick Room Slowbro not having leftovers. It in fact had an Expert Belt and one shot at Tentacruel, which is pretty cool. And so yeah, when playoffs like kind of officially actually start next week, because we have an actual Silver Division Championship game. Records do not matter, differential does not matter. If I had won this game by a little bit, actually, I believe we are actually -9, Tup is at -8. If I was like 3 differential ahead or something like that, I could potentially win 1-0, but or if I had like 3-0, won 3-0 this game, rather. Which, in an infinite time situation, I could have jockeyed for, but whatever. I would honestly rather prefer it to be this way. Just records don't matter, differential doesn't matter. Tup has the edge on differential by 1 point. So that means he is currently 5-6. We are 6-5. So we're either going to win this outright and move to 7-5 to end the year, or Tup is going to win it and we'll both be 6-6, and he'll have at least 1 higher differential if we do, neutral timeout again. So yeah, that will be that. Win and we're in, lose and we're out, and it's the same situation for Tup. So that's pretty much all you need to know about that. As far as the wild card hopes go, Fizz also lost this week to getting upset by Sam, which I'm glad to see Sam picking up some wins, which it felt like it jeopardized Fizz's wild card slot, but no, that was a weird way I said slot. It was like German, like yeah, or something. Schlot, whatever. Anyway. But I'm pretty sure that he's got it locked up. There might, depending on differential and outcomes of games next week, vary who gets which wildcard spot, but Gold Division does have both of the wildcard slots locked up at this point, with Chimp in the front. Cannot be caught. He actually has 6 differential and a game over Miguel, so he cannot be caught even if he gets 6-0'd and Miguel gets a 6-0. So yeah, it's going to be your playoff teams are going to be the Gold Division minus Newcastle United and one of the 2 teams you see on your screen next week. And yeah, it's just whoever wins the game is in the playoffs. So officially a division championship game, and winner takes all. Winner takes all. We lost a narrow 1-0 last week. Both of us are one of the few teams to have not made any roster changes throughout the season. So we have stuck to our drafts, and here we are facing each other in the final week to see who's going to make the playoffs for the first time. Actually, I don't think anyone in the Silver Division had ever made the playoffs. Now, we technically won Season 3, as many of you know, but there were no playoffs in Season 3. Likewise, the Milwaukee Sawsbucks won Season 1 because they created the league. That's what the retcon officially says, but they also did not appear in the playoffs. So it's what is that called? There's a term for that where you like retcon the results of stuff. I can't think of it. Vacate. Yeah, there was some vacating going on. But anyway, that is the scenario for next week. Win in, lose out, and same for top. So get excited. Playoff game hype. Later days.